Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of What Makes It Great, an AMV analysis series where we take a look at a great AMV and then break it down and talk about what it is that makes that video great. Today, we're going to be looking at an action video from 2014 by an editor named Leberate called Fail Parts. Honestly, this is one of those videos where when I'm in the mood for a specific type of video, like when I'm in the mood for really high intensity action, this is like my go-to. We haven't really covered, we've covered one or two action videos, but this kind of is like a step above, or I shouldn't say above, but like a step beyond in terms of the intensity and just the pacing of it compared to whatever we've looked at in the past. It's a really great video. It uses 3 different anime. So it uses the first rebuild of Evangelion movie. It uses Redline, and then season 1 of Attack on Titan. And it does this in a really interesting way. So normally with these types of, normally with multi-anime or multi-source videos, the anime are usually kind of interspersed with one another. And you see, the scenes just kind of flow from one to the next and then back. And it's not like that in this one. In this one, Leberate separates the 3 anime into very distinct and pretty much equal parts in terms of length, and just uses each anime on its own, shows it, gets it out of the way, moves on to the next, and rinse and repeat. There's no story, there's no concept, there's nothing really that runs these 3 anime together other than just the fact that they exist within this video. And yet, Leberate makes it work in some really cool ways. So I'm excited for this one. I think it's just a really fun video, but it is really intense, so just kind of be prepared for that. There isn't really actually too much that I am going to ask you to be on the lookout for. Very generally, and I'm going to say this, and it's probably not going to make a whole lot of sense, so don't think too much about it, because we'll talk about it in the discussion. But see if you can kind of find the ways in which Leberate almost cheats with his scene selection and pacing. I don't know if you'll be able to see what I'm talking about until we actually get to the breakdown, but that is kind of one of the things that I'll be talking about as we go through it. Other than that, if you've seen other episodes of What Makes It Great, honestly, there's going to be a lot in here that we've already talked about, just kind of ratcheted up to the next level because of how intense and how quickly everything goes by. And yet, if you kind of break it down as we will, like scene by scene, you'll see a lot of the same kinds of things that we've talked about in the past. And it's really cool how you can apply these kind of general principles, even to videos of this speed, of this intensity. So I think it'll be fun to kind of go through and pick out some of the things that we've talked about at length in the past and just see how Leberate's doing that almost on a much shorter time scale. But anyway, I think honestly, your best bet is to just kind of kick back and let this one hit you in the face. And then we'll come back and talk about it. So if you are already familiar with this video and you'd like to skip straight to the discussion, check out this time code. Otherwise, let's watch this together. This is Fail Parts by Leberate, and we'll come back and talk about what makes it great. So just a quick aside before we get started. I was not familiar with the original song. The Catalyst is a Linkin Park song, and this is a Pendulum remix of it. This is the only version of that song that I had ever heard. So before I started recording this, I decided to check out the original version of the song. And if you're not familiar with the song and you do what I did and go and listen to it, you'll be probably just as surprised as I am, because it's like half as fast as this song. It just sounds so weird. So I just thought that was funny. You could not make the same video that Leberate made with the original song. Anyway, just a humorous kind of thing I ran into. Okay, let's take a look at this and get started. I want to talk about this because this is actually something, I think this is the first time we've seen this. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it took this long to get to talking about kind of introducing the video's title. Most of the videos we've watched don't really have the title in them until I don't know, we've never really talked about it. So this is one of those things that, when it's done correctly, it looks so cool, and it can add a certain flair to the video that I really, really like. This is an example of a video that does putting the title on screen. It does it right. Often people will either forgo showing the title at all, or they'll just kind of put some text, overlay some text on the video somewhere, either at the beginning or maybe the end. And there are correct ways to do that as well. Don't get me wrong, but it can be really cool to kind of give the title its own section and build a little bit of, kind of stylize it a little like it's done here. There's a couple reasons I think this works, especially with this video. First of all, the song has this like 30-second intro portion that is really, honestly, how would you edit to it? Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, if Leberate didn't do this here, what could he have done? And I don't know that there's a good answer to that, because part of that is because of the way he structured the video. So, he has these 3 sections of the video. Each section has a single anime dedicated to it, and they're all about the same length. I actually double checked this. They're all like 50 to 55 seconds long, so they're all pretty equally distributed. But then you have like this 30-second intro, and it would be a little weird to introduce another anime here because this part of the song is so different from the rest. It wouldn't really gel well. I feel like it doesn't really work to use Evangelion with this, because then you're giving extra time to that. It just makes everything uneven. And while he is using Redline here, this is animation from Redline. It's super stylized, and it's very clearly like visually distinct from the rest of the video. So I think this is just a really, really cool way to introduce the title, and it kind of has some graphic design elements to it that I really like too. I mean, obviously the silhouette is really I should say like the inverted silhouette is pretty cool, but then the way he puts the text into the white part, and we keep playing it like we never see the full text, right? We see enough to know what the text says, but we don't ever see the above or below each letter. it's a really cool, I don't know, it just looks really good. I think just straight up from a visual perspective, it's intriguing, and it really does a good job at pulling me in. I also just really like this animation. I think it's cool animation. Like even the way it like that tapping kind of syncs to this little I don't know what you want to call it, but this little explosion almost, or kicking up dust in the background. And then with that like piano key is right when the car comes up and comes at the screen. So there is even some sync here, which is really cool. But you have the text just kind of omnipresent in the background, and it just like, I don't know, it's a really, really good way to introduce the video. It looks cool. You can't do this kind of thing with every video because not every song has this kind of clearly delineated introductory portion to it. But Leberate took that and made the most of it, and it works really well with the structure of his video overall as well. So just A plus titling here. I think it looks really cool and it works really well. All right, so yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Patterns. We're already seeing some here. It's if we go back, let's just rewatch. It's that really cool, just visual of that. I don't know what it is. It's like an energy ball or something shooting up into the ceiling. It just looks, and it hits right on the beat. Really kind of kicks off the video in a solid, effective way. God, VLC, I don't know why it does that. That is, and then he's hitting this internal sync on each of these kind of bass, these kick drums, or these beats. He's using internal sync on each one, establishing that pattern early. That's great. See, and it's internal sync. He cuts to these skulls like a few frames before they kind of explode out. So what is being synced is not that cut, it's the explosion. And you could kind of interpret it either way visually, which it's cool when that happens, but I definitely always see that as internal sync. And I think it just the imagery so far has really been also very consistent. Like there's just all this like dark kind of ominous, macabre imagery that he's using to set the tone, which matches up with the tone of the song perfectly. So that's like the one instance in this video where there's lip sync. And I think we've kind of talked about this in the past. Lip sync is a dangerous thing to introduce to a video because you really have to be careful, because it can set the wrong expectations for the viewer. If you're going to be using a lot of lip sync and it's kind of a goofy, fun video, then okay. With a video like this, it's like you really have to be careful. However, in this case, it works, and the reason is very simple. It's just because Shinji is lip syncing one word, and it's a very direct, simple word that punctuates this part of the song. Really, it's like an important punctuation to this part of the song. And so that the choice to lip sync there just accentuates that even further, just enough so that it doesn't look goofy or out of place. There's really no other lip sync throughout this video, but its usage here is, in my opinion, just perfect. Really, really a very strong choice there. I love it. I'm laughing because I just love we're already getting into sync and stuff that I just absolutely love. This right there, you got those snare drum hits, rapid snare drum hits right there, and the kind of the 3D HUD that's right here is like spinning around, and it syncs up in a really subtle way to those drum beats, and there's a lot of that throughout this video. Really kind of subtle internal sync that you may not notice as it's happening, but kind of retroactively gives the video, or that section of the video, a good flow. In my opinion, that's kind of, I don't know if I want to say that's the best way, because it's a strong statement, but it's a really good way to make a video, to give a video good visual rhythm, is to always be on the lookout for just these scenes that are not always like super in your face with the internal sync, but just enough to give kind of almost a subconscious, like, oh yeah, this video is synced to that part of the song, even though I can't, like, I think back and I don't remember what it was that was happening, but it flowed really well. Well, it's because there's internal sync that's happening maybe on the periphery of the video that you're not immediately recognizing, but that is still leaving an impression kind of on the corners of your brain. It's really, and he does that, Leberate does that a ton in this video. I love that speed ramping there with the pendulum that's swinging around like it. I don't know if that was in the, I'm a bad anime fan. I love Evangelion, but I still have not seen the remakes yet. I know. So I don't know if that speed ramping was already present, but if not, Leberate did a really good job in using it there. Let me show you what See, broken people, and it's like as he sings that, like it kind of speeds up and then slows down, and then right after that speeds back up again and slows down. I think if I remember correctly, when we looked at Into the Cyberverse by Ilea, she did that kind of thing a lot, and is a really good example, another really good example of it here. So if I paused at every moment where there's cool internal sync, we'd never get through this video, so I'm not going to, but I will point out some of the better things that I really like. Those guns firing to the snare drums, awesome. And he does that a couple of times. It's almost a motif, but not quite. All right, so a couple things here. So here the video this is maybe one of the lower points of the video, if I had to call it that. It's something that always just slightly sticks out as a little softer than the rest. I think it's because let's take another look. Let me see if I can figure it out. I think that crossfade between the gun shooting and this explosion really kind of robs a bit of the momentum. Yeah, I think that's it. It just seems a little too smooth and soft given the really abrasive nature of the song there. And I'm not a huge fan. Like, it doesn't really take that much away from the video, to be honest. It's a small thing, but I do notice it every time. And I think it's just a little, like, I think even just a simple hard cut there would have fixed that, honestly. He does get, we're going to see that coming up. I was going to comment on it, and I will when we get to it, but you see if you can catch it before I pause again. There are a few instances coming up where he just kind of overuses the crossfades, I think, a little too much. Honestly, they still, end up working mostly fine, but this is a video. If there's any video that we've watched that could have been all hard cuts, it's probably, I think it's this one. So there's a little bit of kind of cheeky lyric sync here. Can't be outmatched, can't be outrun. And then we have the Evangelion on the starting block, and then Asuka's Evangelion running. It's a little goofy. I kind of like it. It's a video that doesn't, like, as dark as it is, it also kind of doesn't take itself too seriously, as we'll see in a couple other places. But it's borderline for me. Like, the lyric sync didn't have to be acknowledged there, I don't think. Or I should say the lyrics didn't have to be acknowledged there, but it's fine. The other thing, though, that makes that kind of work is that he goes, oh, and as he's doing that, you have Asuka's Evangelion soaring through the air. So there is a bit of, like, internal sync there that kind of redeems it in my eyes. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking. There's that kind of, I hesitate to call it a motif, but the guns firing again on those snare hits. Even if it's just a couple times that he does it, that continuity is always nice to see. I like seeing video, disparate scenes tied together in that way. And I say disparate because the first one was like really dark and there were explosions all around, and then now we're in more like primary color, sunny day territory, and yet the guns firing is the same. So kind of a neat callback to the first time we saw it. And again, yeah, so I guess I will call it a motif because it does happen several times and it works every time. I like that he's acknowledging those snare hits each and every time, and not only acknowledging them, but with internal sync. And not only with internal sync, but the same kind, like guns firing off. You don't always have to get that kind of specific with the scenes you choose to repeat. However, if you're able to, and I say you don't have to because a lot of times anime just doesn't have you don't have enough scenes to keep repeating, enough different scenes to keep repeating the same motifs over and over. However, in this case, he had them and it works, and I love it. That's an interesting choice there. I think he's saying complicate, and on each syllable, there's a quick crossfade that zooms in on that Evangelion. Not sure if I like that too much, honestly. It works. I think the crossfades weren't necessary. I think hard cuts would have looked better. I don't know what he's saying. I don't think it's complicate, but anyway, it's all right. That I have to laugh, not because it's bad, but the gun case opening up like that. Ilea a while ago, I think like a decade ago, released a video called Radio Action, and it's an Evangelion video, really, really good video. But one of the best parts of that video is where this scene right here is synced to like these really deep bass beats, or this really deep bass synth. I can't remember, but like it's really, really, really cool. And I like how Leberate uses that again. I'm not saying that the two videos are connected, but that's what it reminds me of. Okay, this sequence is really cool. So let me let it play, and then I'll come back. So I really, really like that because we're getting to the song is kind of building, right? Obviously, all the percussion goes away for that section, so there's not a whole lot to really sync to, and you see Leberate take advantage of that. because he kind of lets off all the shaking and explosions and guns shooting and everything, and it's calmer in a sense, at least in the sense that there's less motion. However, the scenes are no less intense. You got the Evangelion with the the armor ripped off, walking, like stomping forward, and he's like, looks like it's about to like just go attack something. I can't remember what happens there in the well, I don't know what happens in the movie because I haven't seen it, but I guess I kind of remember what happens in the anime. Anyway, and then Leberate parallels that scene with that shot of Asuka, with the camera following behind her as she's kind of stomping up to the window to punch it with Shinji on the other side. And it's just they're both such intense scenes visually without all the emotion and the visual. It doesn't have the same kinetic intensity as pretty much everything we've seen before. However, it has a lot more emotional intensity, right? And so it's kind of cool how Leberate switches gears. And even though the song is no longer, it doesn't have those percussive elements, he's still maintaining the momentum and the really intense nature of everything by using these really kind of visceral scenes. Clever. It's a clever way to do that, because he could have chosen a million other scenes, and I think I really think any one of them would have been less effective than this. He also said, like, he's singing "You and I," and each time it zooms in closer to the Evangelion, which is a nice little touch as well. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to really talk about all those last Evangelion scenes, because I think you can tell why that was just awesome. I love how chopped up it became there at the end. But maybe obvious, maybe not. This kind of pause in the music is not in the actual song. I did check just to make sure. So Leberate added this, and as well as that TV turning off sound effect. I think it's directly from this scene in the anime. But I love this switch. I love the way he does that. Because you're building to all this there's all this momentum that's been building, and then he just kind of like cuts it off on this like goofy scene of this guy. I don't even know his name. I've never seen Redline, but of this guy laying on the couch, and it's just kind of a clever way to transition from one anime to the next, because that's like the hardest part, I feel like, of Leberate's decision of how to structure this video. I want to talk about that because it's not something you really ever see. And it wasn't until I started thinking about this What Makes a Great episode that I realized structuring a multi-source video this way, where each anime kind of gets its own distinct section, is almost a taboo in AMV editing, unless you're talking about like an MEP, a multi-editor project. That's like the only place where something like this is acceptable. I hadn't really thought about that, but it's true. I can't think of another AMV edited by a single person that takes this approach and is structured this way. So it's just kind of something interesting. I think is worth just thinking about, and I get why. It's you don't want to, if you're using a multiple sources, you want to intersperse them so that there's this kind of sense of stability almost, or like consistency, so that no one anime is dominating, and you're getting a good visual diversity throughout the video. I get that, and I think this is a lot riskier of a thing to do. I think it really only works here because there's no overarching story or theme. It just seems like a fun, crazy action video. I shouldn't say it seems like, it is just a fun, crazy action video. I think the genre of AMV allows for it. So not something to necessarily try to replicate in your own work unless you have a really good reason for doing it and the type of video you're trying to make fits with that, that structure. Anything with a narrative thread is going to be really difficult, or even a conceptual thread more generally is going to be really difficult to pull this off with. All right, let's keep going. Ugh, stupid VLC. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit here about what I meant when I said look for ways Leberate is cheating the scene selection, because I feel like he does that a lot here. I don't really mean that in a negative way, just to be clear. What I mean when I say that is this song is so chaotic. You could take any single slice of the song and it would, and you could point to like 5 different things you could be syncing to at any given point. It's also difficult because this is, when it comes to like drum and bass is very difficult to edit to because it has this like really skittering beat that kind of underpins every drum and bass song. That's kind of one of its defining qualities, is this like skittering, shuffling beat that it's just really, really difficult to sync to consistently. It's really difficult to find the rhythm and match it up visually. So I think what Leberate ends up doing a lot in this video, and I could be wrong, but it feels like a lot of the internal sync that happens throughout here is probably mostly unintentional. Like it just happens to line up here and there, and it's a happy coincidence and it ends up working out, but he's using scenes with a lot of motion. And I feel like half of the stuff that it appears is internally synced is just like my brain kind of matching things up that weren't necessarily intended to be matched up. I could be wrong. This could be a super tightly, very intentionally synced video, but I feel like a lot of the scenes here, he just kind of discovered them by accident, most likely. This is not a shot at him. When editing a song like this, I would do the same thing and just kind of see where things happen to sync up and go with it. It also helped, like the scenes are so busy that you're always going to find something that syncs up to the music, to some element of the music. Anyway, for that reason, I'm kind of gonna let this play a little bit, because again, if I pause it everywhere, it's just everywhere where there's sync, it's just going to take forever. So let's just let it run, and I'll point out a handful of things, but for the most part, I think you kind of get what I'm getting at. I'm sorry, I really like that. You got this yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like the way those cars kind of swerve around, it kind of matches up with the way those like mid-range synths kind of swerve around a little bit. And then there's definitely that I feel like is definitely intentional. Like the cars are coming right when coming at the camera right when those higher pitched synth notes enter into the song, and that's definitely intentional. And the way those cars are speeding past right when that musical phrase ends, or right before that musical phrase ends, and then cuts to this next scene. Oh yeah, that was all intentional. I'm almost positive. Has the stench of good editing to it. love that. I love that. Those quick cuts, those quick hard cuts where he's playing with all the knobs and the steering wheel and the clutch and everything. That's awesome. And the way that the fire's coming out to those like that like belching sound, the belching synth sound. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. See, that right there, that entire section, that feels accidental to me. Accidental is kind of a harsh word. That feels, I'll just go with it, accidental. Happy accident, though. This whole section. I don't know if Leberate like noticed this and did this on purpose, but I like the way the lyrics are "fires of 1,000 suns," and right as that lyric is sung, like all the visuals go red and orange, and it's like it almost feels like you're inside the sun. Or there's just a lot of fire and explosions and jet power around. I don't know, but like it's whether or not that was an intentional lyric tie. I again, I just like it. It's another maybe happy accident. That's the one, that scene right there is like the one major complaint I have about this section. Right here, where we just see all this dust and debris flying past. It stays on screen for just a little too long. While there is a lot of visual chaos going on here, I do feel like this overstays its welcome just a tad, and I feel like it should have probably started maybe like half a second or so later. It's a minor complaint, but one of the very few I have about this video overall. Yeah, that just it's there a little too long, and it's hard. I'm being a little harsh because because Leberate has just. I mean, every like quarter of a second or less, there's like a scene change, or there's some sort of insane like motion that happens within the scene, and it's constant cuts and constant motion. And then the song doesn't really change. There's nothing about the song that would indicate that a break is needed in the visuals, and yet there's that whole sequence just feels a little too static for a little too long compared to literally everything else in the video so far. I love this slow motion. Such a good way to end this part of the video. It heightens the drama, right? Right before that car crashes, we are sucked into the next part of the next anime that he uses, and it's just like, yeah, it's such a dramatic scene. All these kind of slow mo crashes, very very cool, and the way he doesn't allow us to see the resolution of those before going to the next thing is such a. Oh, I love it. It's a very effective like way to keep us from getting like too comfortable or too, this video does not want to resolve anything, right? There's no resolution in any of this. It's constant tension, constant action, constant, name your adjective, or I guess noun. Name your noun. And yeah. So I love that he doesn't let us see the car crash. It's just hanging in air, and then we get to the next scene, and it just like ramps us back up again. Really, really, really clever. All right, let's get to the Attack on Titan, because I have a few things to say about this. That is the weakest part of the video. I have to believe that he just didn't know how to like sync between this anime and the very stylistically different Attack on Titan. So he chose this to be continued scene, which actually I kind of get after what I just said, because he doesn't, like I said, there's no resolution. We don't see that car crash, and so he's saying to be continued, and this is the Attack on Titan to be continued screen. So actually, I kind of like that. I did not really think hard about that until just now. So I was about to say this. I don't like this, and this is like my least favorite part of the video. But you know what? I'm gonna not say that. I'm gonna withdraw that complaint. This is actually quite clever. Bravo, Leberate. This is, yeah. See, I'm always noticing things, even as I do these. I don't plan everything I have to say, as I'm sure you've noticed if you've watched past videos. So anyway, cool. All right, I like this. That I will say though that this scene is still only okay in my book. His facial expression just doesn't quite, and I get it. Like, if I remember correctly, like this is, he's kind of like, he feels safe when he's giving this, or when he's standing here, and then all of a sudden everything explodes behind him and the Titans come in or whatever. So there is that element of like surprise, which I think Leberate is trying to channel with this scene, but it just kind of sticks out to me, not in a good way. That's another one of the few scenes I don't really care for. To be clear, the explosion and everything syncs up with the music really well. The tone just seems slightly off compared to the rest of the video. I love that. That is such a good way to sync those really, that kind of drum fill there. It's not like just a constant roll. Like there's some stutters in between, but that that camera coming out of the cannon barrel into the Titan, really, really good way to sync that up. It maintains the kind of the intention of that sound, and it propels, like literally propels the video forward at the same time. Okay. All right, I gotta talk. That's like my favorite part of the video. I say this, I should clarify. I hate Attack on Titan videos. I like the anime. I've only seen the first season, but I've never seen an Attack on Titan video that I just really love. This is like the best thing I've seen using Attack on Titan. This like 50 whatever seconds that this part of the video is on is like my favorite Attack on Titan AMV ever. But that portion that we just watched, so good. What's her name? Is it Mikasa? Is that her name? I can't remember. It's been so long. So she's swinging through the air, and it's just synced so well to the song. Oh my goodness! Like that now is right as she's spinning in the air, and then it transitions here, and that's just so perfect. Oh, the kinetic energy of this thing is like a thermonuclear bomb right here. I love it. Love it. Oh my God. This is so cool. And then this part, this is like the one place in the video where Leberate really does some effects, right? He's doing this rotoscoping here. Normally, this is something I would advise against. Typically, when you're using effects, I personally like to see effects use that is consistent and is not just in a single part of the AMV. I like to see effects use kind of, it doesn't have to be like all out crazy effects, but if you're going to use effects, you should use them kind of at various points throughout the AMV. Using them in just one specific place is, it can look pretty bad in my opinion, and it's not something that most editors would even try to do. However, the way it's used here is just phenomenal. It provides this really interesting contrast between foreground and background, and it kind of acts as a transition. And I mean, the visual just smorgasbord that's happening on screen right now is just like, it syncs up with the music just so unbelievably well. Not something to necessarily try unless you're really confident in yourself, but man, he just knocks it out of the park here. So I think we're seeing in this section, we're seeing a lot of that kind of accidental sync again. I say that just because it seems to be a little looser here. Some of the scenes are running on a little longer than normal without any cuts. There's enough motion within them that it doesn't bother me like that one red line scene did. However, I think Leberate is getting away with some kind of accidental sync here and there that is still working perfectly fine, but it doesn't seem to be as intentionally synced as a lot of the rest of the video is. And that is really cool. That you could call that lip sync, maybe not really, but like, you know, the singer is like screaming out something, and it sounds like he's screaming it at the top of his lungs, and that's a really excellent utilization of that visual to sync up with that. Again, not really, I don't know if I'd quite call that lip sync. And I think because this is such a high octane action video, something like that really feels at home. So excellent scene choice there. Okay, and I wanted to talk about this part too, because like you have these kind of staccato synth notes that are playing throughout this section, and to me, those notes, absent the video, just in general, those notes kind of have, when I hear that in a song, it kind of it sounds like kind of a slashing or a swinging almost kind of motion. That's like what I envision with when I hear those kinds of, or maybe like a stabbing kind of motion. And in here we have this section. See those that's what I'm referring to. So in here we have this we have these scene transitions that are sliding in from different directions, and they are they're, even though they're not synced to those staccato notes, they're synced to like the backing kind of bass notes. They're still imparting that stabbing or slashing motion that, in my mind, really pleasantly complements those staccato notes. I think it's again, I have no idea if Leberate was doing that on purpose, but I love how that kind of syncs up. Clever way to represent the music. So that last part is just, again, really cool. Nothing especially stands out as worth talking about in this the last like 20 or so seconds that we just watched. However, I do want to just talk briefly about that last scene. So I love this ending because it's gosh, I'm gonna be embarrassed if this isn't her name, but I think it's Mikasa, where she's spinning around and then she slashes at the screen and it goes to white. It's a really powerful way to end the video because, again, there's no resolution. They're in the middle of a fight. We don't know if they succeed against the Titans. We don't know if they die. We don't know what happens in that fight. And all we get is this white screen as our ending. And I think that's perfect. That just so well goes with the ideas that Leberate was kind of exploring I say ideas, it's kind of, that might be too strong a word, but the kind of what we were seeing throughout the rest of the videos. There's no resolution anywhere else. There's none at the end either. And that just, it's unsurprising, right? It makes total sense that the video would end that way. So again, really, really good way to end the video. I do love that the way he ends that with just flashing all the credits really quick. There's practically nothing in this video that is slow or deliberate. Like, it's all just like quickly in your face, get in, get out, smash you in the face with a baseball bat and run away kind of thing. I love it. All right, so that was Fail Parts by Leberate. And again, one of my favorite action videos. Always something that's guaranteed to get my heart racing, to get my blood pumping. So incredibly intricate in its internal sync, whether or not it's intentional all the time. It just flows like nothing, like almost nothing else. It's so smooth. And if you're gonna do action, I feel like this is what you should aim for. Like, if you want to add story or some sort of overarching concept, hey, go for it. But action is one of the few genres where I feel like you can get away with just mindless bullcrap and still come out the other end with an excellent video. There doesn't have to be a lot of thought to an action video. There really doesn't. That's not why I watch action. I do not watch these videos to engage in meaningful ways with the plot or with some greater idea. I watch these videos to get pumped up, and this video pumps me up so much. So all the internal sync, kind of the way his scene selection sometimes synced up in maybe ways that weren't always intended. Really, he just really knocked it out of the park in every way with this video. And he did a really good job overall of recognizing the tone of the video, the tone of the song, and the specific sounds that were most important to highlight visually. Especially in a song like that, where there's just so much going on, it can be, like I talked about, it can be really difficult to isolate what it is you want to sync to. And in the times where there were very specific, important musical elements, such as those snare drums in the first part with the guns going off, like he highlighted those, he accentuated them. You don't need to sync to everything, just the most important things. And then with a video like this, just throw everything else at it and see what sticks, and you'll come out the other end with something that hopefully is really awesome. And as effective as Fail Parts is. Anyway, that is Fail Parts by Leberate. Thank you for checking this out. Thank you for watching through to the end, and I'll see you next time.